Give me the third group. Third group of questions, do we receive a mansion in heaven? How many of you would like to know if you're going to receive a mansion in heaven? How many of you would like to know? They've already done that. I've heard heaven described as a place where we get mansions, and others say we get a room or an apartment. Which is it? Y'all wrote the question, all right? How many people will be in heaven? Let me tell you, whoever asked this question, what you really wanted to know is, are you going to be in heaven? That's all you cared about, right? Isn't that true? All right, so let me answer those questions. Do we receive actual mansions? I've heard described a place where, that heaven is described as a place where we get mansions and all of these other things, or a room. Which is it? In John chapter 14, verse 2 to 3, we looked at today, Jesus said, in my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you that I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and take you away to myself, that where I am, there you might be also. The confusion on mansions came from the King James Version translation in verse 2. Here's what the King James says. In my Father's house are many mansions. How many of you grew up hearing those words? In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. The two words that create the confusion here are the words house and mansion. The Greek word translated house, in my Father's house, the Greek word translated house literally means abode or residence. So you could accurately translate that, what Jesus said, into in my Father's residence, in my Father's house. Do you get that? The place. He says, in my Father's house. The Greek word translated mansions or rooms literally means a staying place or a residing place, like a family would stay in a place together. So, if you take those two Greek words literally, heaven is God's home, the place where God abides, with the family of God abiding and living together with Him in His house. Does that make sense? Thus, the ideas of streets with mansions on them is not supported by the text. Now, if you want one, I've got no problem. I think we're going to do just fine in God's house. How many of you think that's true? All right, so let me give you a last thought. How many people can live in heaven? How many would like to know? Let me give you a few names of people. I won't. How many people can live in God's house? We don't know, but it's big. How big? Real big. Revelation chapter 7 verse 9 says, after I looked, and behold, a great multitude that no one could number, from every nation and all the tribes and all the people and all the language, standing before the throne, before the Lamb, clothed in white robes with palm branches, praising God. In other words, no one can count how many people are ultimately going to be in heaven. Therefore, here's what we can conclude about the house that we will live in heaven. It's a big house with lots and lots and lots of room, not necessarily rooms. Got it? All right. So if heaven is a big house, how many of you want to go? Now. If heaven's a big house, folks, we have to be passionate about telling those who are lost where they have the opportunity to spend eternity. Let that be the passion of our heart as a church.